This segment of CoastLife is sponsored by Beebe Healthcare.
Well, this is the time of year that you start hearing the conversations about the summer body and getting healthy and doing all the things. And those are all great steps, but they can be overwhelming steps. So we've got Kim Hyatt, registered dietitian with Beebe Healthcare, joining us on the CoastLife couch today to kind of help us break down some of these big, overwhelming healthcare journey topics and breaking them down into smaller steps. So first of all, thank you for being here, Kim, because every time you're here, I think everybody can breathe a little easier and actually maybe come up with a plan to put some things into action. So what are some of the things that you see, maybe especially this time of year, or for anybody that's just kind of starting out that healthcare journey, and you can break it into smaller bits?
Sure. Thank you for having me again. I always love to be here. And I think when people think of a health journey, it's so broad. You know, people say, I'm going to get healthy this year, January, new year, new you.
Yes.
But health takes on a different form for every single person, right? For some people, like in my arena, it could be healthy weight. It could be getting to a healthy weight, but that also bleeds into other areas like better heart health, maybe smoking less, maybe drinking less. It could be, health takes on a different form for every person. So I think the ability to pick what it is that you actually want to focus on can help you narrow down your efforts to achieve that health goal.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because I think, you know, it is sort of nebulous and broad when you do hear people talking about that health journey, and maybe that's eat more vegetables, but maybe it is just drink less, smoke less. And I say just, but it's a much bigger concept than that. So maybe somebody has, you know, they've determined what it is their goal is, what they need to do to take those steps. How do you break, because even then, that's a big step.
Sure.
So how do you break that down into smaller pieces for people?
Sure, I think that's great. Like once you identify what it is that you're going to focus on, you break it into smaller areas that can feed into that. So every daily task that you have will either feed into your overall goal or it will detract from it. So I always tell my patients, you know, you just have to get through the next 24 hours. And I often start that conversation by saying, what matters to you the most? What bothers you the most about what you do or what's around you that gets in the way of what you're trying to eventually achieve? And when you sit with yourself and when you think about, okay, this is what really bothers me, put your effort towards the hardest thing first. And often that can be removing a trigger from your environment. Could be a substance, doesn't have to be, could be a food, could be just a behavior, you know, or being around others that often feed into those, you know, negative behaviors that keep you from getting where you want to be. But identifying triggers and slowly weaning down on those in and around your day can help kind of quiet some of those cravings in those areas.
Sure. I think for some of us, you know, when you have a hard emotional day, you're like, I just need to do something to comfort myself. And maybe that is eating a little bit more than you would, or maybe eating worse than you normally would, because you're like, what's going to make this feel better? Something greasy. I know. But once you've identified these triggers now, maybe you're kind of walking through the steps. I like how you put it when we were kind of talking about what we were going to discuss today, not if you fail, but when you fail.
Sure.
Because it's going to happen.
Sure. And I don't even like to use that F word, the fail word, but we feel that way. If we feel like we've messed up or squandered our day, or we go in with the best intention and then the day trips us up, we just think to ourselves, okay, well, that day's wasted. I guess
throw it all away.
Throw it all away, and I guess I'll start again sometime when my motivation shows up. But ultimately, I always recommend not to attach an emotion to a slip up. It is what it is. It has already happened. So if you still care about your overall goal, okay, the next day we refocus, identify what brought you to that point, and try to put time and space there and just move forward without attaching guilt to that scenario.
I love that. And I think that can apply, you know, to many aspects of our lives, whether it is diet specific or exercise specific, or I think even just kind of reminding yourself and getting in touch with your hobbies again, to know like, to remove that guilt of something you didn't do that day, I think is huge. It's a relief. What else have you got for us when it comes to breaking down this health journey?
Well, I think mental health is always important, you know, and just being in the right headspace for it. You know, motivation doesn't just come to you. You have to kind of breed it in and around your day. I will say, though, that once you've put time and space in those areas and you are seeing those little tiny positive things that you're looking for, motivation will kind of increase. Now, I always like to bring up to my patients or anybody that I talk to, because I get questions as a dietitian, I just heard this new thing. What do you think about this? Should I take this supplement? Will this be the way that I get to my end goal? And with the rise of social media and content creation, it's a double-edged sword. It's a great way to get out information very quickly, but it also can be the thing that either can have you comparing yourself to somebody else's better progress,
Right.
or feeling like you are failing, or just giving you wrong information that you may adopt into your own life and not knowing that it could have harmful health consequences if you adopt that without knowing the full picture.
I think that's a great reminder because social media is so widespread and information gets spread so quickly. And I think the one thing to also keep in mind too, especially when it is a product or a supplement that you've seen on social media, that person could be getting paid to tell you about that product.
Sure,
And so,
sure,
of course it's going to work for them.
Sure, absolutely. And I always tell my patients there is no quick fix for long-term change. It's all of the little tiny minutia that you put in and around your day that will ultimately get you to where you want to be.
Fantastic. So is there anything else that you want people that are maybe in those beginning steps to know other than encouraging them to maybe say that it's time to make an appointment with you, Kim?
Sure. I think support takes on different forms for different people. I lead support groups every single month for my patients, and support doesn't necessarily have to be the people in your home.
Sure.
You could just find somebody that either has gone through where you are trying to go and they could be a good resource for you, or somebody that just supports your efforts and has seen you struggle in your different areas, and establishing that support so that when you feel down on yourself, you have somebody that's looking at it from an outside perspective. It actually is shown in research that those that have better support have longer term success than those that just try to go it alone.
I believe that 100%. I think it's a good point too to say that support doesn't necessarily have to be from the people in your home or the people closest to you, because I think sometimes those are also the people that, whether we intend to or not, we compete with, and so they say they have your best interest, and maybe it's hard to wrap their head around, or maybe they're just not saying all the right things to keep you motivated. So to have a professional at your fingertips, if people are ready to kind of take those first steps, how should they get in touch with you or your department?
Sure. So you can go ahead and go online and go to Beebe's website. I work at Beebe Center for Weight Loss Surgery, so we're focusing on weight loss and obesity. And you can also just call our office at 302-260-7360 for more information.
You got it. Kim, thank you so much for coming in today.
Always love to be here. Thank you so much.
Of course. Coming up on CoastLife, we do have some more to get to, though. I think we're taking a trip to Ocean City when we get back.